Mr. Speaker. A $1 million money earner who scored graded stakes victories at 2, 3, and 4 years old, including the Grade 1 Belmont Derby. From the 6A female family of champion Personal Ensign, he's inbred 3x4 to Mr. Prospector, a similar pattern and the same cross as Tappet. America's #1 general sire for 3 years running. All this adds up to a world-class stallion at a world-class stallion farm.
Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at Pegasus World Cup contender Tom's d'Etat. Our Pegasus World Cup coverage is presented by Lane's End. Mike, Tom's d'Etat, when he's right, is extremely talented. He's won his last 4 races. Let's go back to his true coming out party at Saratoga way back in 2017. He pops a 106 Beyer speed figure over this track, but he annihilated his foes, and I thought this race was so good. I was looking forward to seeing him take on Gunrunner in either the Whitney or the Woodward that year. We didn't see him take on anybody for the rest of 2017, but he's come back firing seemingly as good as new for a very good trainer in Al Stahl.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were ready to see what he would do at the next level off of that win we just looked at there. That was a really impressive performance for a horse who had just gotten really good and obviously has no distance limitations. And it's unfortunate that he missed as much time as he did. On the other hand, it's nice to have him back at the races. It's nice to see that he's come back and won 2 races in a row very easily. And now they're going to step him way up. I'm going to find out if he still has all that potential that he once had.
He's come back twice now off the extended layoff, and I like how Stahl has placed him and has given him a natural progression. A 1-turn mile at Churchill Downs, where he just ran away and hid in an off-the-turf race. He won by the length of the stretch with a 98 Beyer speed figure. Then they stretched him out to 2 turns at the fairgrounds. Again, it was a race where, admittedly, he kind of had to fall down to lose. He was an odds-on favorite for a reason, and he won in more workmanlike fashion than I think a lot of people were expecting. I think a lot of people were expecting Showtime yet again. Does that concern you, or do you see a situation maybe that Al Stahl has just been planning for this all along, and he didn't want to squeeze the lemon dry?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe you have to look at it that way. I mean, we'll see. I think, based on how much time this horse missed, I'm going to be optimistic about his first 2 starts back. It's at least shown that he still has talent. This horse can still run. Is he good enough to now step up into, the race like the Pegasus World Cup against 2 really good horses? I guess we'll find out. But he's an interesting horse, I think. In a race where we have 2 very strong favorites coming up in the Pegasus World Cup, you're looking for interesting alternatives. I think he's one of the interesting alternatives. It'll be interesting to see what he does anyway.
His strengths are obvious, his connections, his tactical speed. I can see a situation where maybe he parks himself 3rd or 4th behind City of Light and Pattern Recognition, really with a big shot, perhaps tracking in the same spot as Accelerate. Maybe both of those 2 horses will make moves on the pace setters going into the turn. And, of course, the fact that he likes to win races. The weaknesses, well, he only has 1 Beyer speed figure fast enough to contend. That was the race we saw at Saratoga, and it came over a wet track. And 2, kind of amazing, this is going to be his first start in anything other than a listed stakes, higher than a listed stakes.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot working against this horse. There's no doubt about it. But, we already talked about sort of the positives in that he has run a fast race. He does have ability. And I like the fact, Dan, that he doesn't have distance limitations and that he's got the right running style. He has speed to get himself into a position, but he does not need to be up there making the pace. This horse can get a good trip in the race, in a race that feels like it's going to have some pace, too. I think he can get the right trip. I think he'll get the distance. And then it just depends on whether you think he's good enough and what kind of price you want to take on him. But I think he's an interesting horse in the race.
I think you and I both believe that he's a live long shot. I think there's a good chance that he could go off at around 10 come post time in the Pegasus World Cup, and that makes him a very intriguing alternative to the 2 big names, Accelerate and City of Light. That's Tom d'Etat, an impressive recent winner at the fairgrounds, and boy, he's been impressive for most of his career.